Hi everyone, my name is Terri and welcome to my channel, The Pink Dumbbell Problem, and a new episode in the Discourse series. It's been a busy week in the discourse and there's a lot of amazing stories out there to talk about, but it's also a holiday weekend here in Canada, so I'm going to get through these as fast as I can and get back outside. Here is the 3 things that I saw in the last week or so that I think are most interesting to talk about. No surprise to regular watchers of my channel that the first topic I want to talk about is Roe versus Wade being overturned, and I was kind of trying to find a different angle on this, something a little more interesting. One of the really interesting stories that really kind of connects with a number of things I've discussed on this channel before is this story. Actress Jodie Sweetin, you may know her from the Full House TV series and now the Fuller House reboot of that series. She was involved in a protest and was handled quite roughly by police who were trying to move the protest out or something. I'm not quite sure what the police were exactly trying to do there. But anyway, they gave her a pretty good shove around. She got thrown into a crowd of other protesters. I wanted to talk about this specifically because it really illustrates the importance of celebrities adding their voice to causes. And a lot of people would say, well, Jodie Sweetin's not exactly a household name, but she is for a lot of people. I think there's a whole generation of people who watched her and grew up with her when she was a child star on television. What's really interesting, though, is that this is the person who got the media attention. It's hard to kind of tell from the footage, but at least dozens of protesters there. They were all getting roughed up, but it got attention on the news because Jodie Sweetin was there. And there's a few screenshots here. I'll put some links down below to some interview clips of her talking about that. And she does bring that up. She is very willing to use the fact that the media is interested in her experience because she's a celebrity. And she's going to use that to push the agenda. And, you know, there's a lot of arguments back and forth on whether that should be done and are celebrities expert enough in this. It's kind of a moot point because they're the ones who get the media attention. And as anybody who's done media work for a charity or a nonprofit or an activist organization knows, that's the golden ticket. And so for those folks out there who get annoyed when celebrities are on a soapbox about something, this is why they do it. The other thing is that even though she's in the public eye as an actress, she's a citizen like everybody else. And she's mentioned that in a few interviews as well, is that she's affected by this. She has daughters who are of an age where they're really affected by this. She's got a horse in this race, as they say. I love seeing that she is possibly going to be the next big celebrity to step up and make activism part of her work. And she certainly has the credibility. As this came out, I was reading up, and she's been doing activist work for years. She supports a number of charities and nonprofits. It looks like her credit is pretty good. And by the way, if I'm ever in a fight or in a protest or somebody's getting shoved around, I want Jodie on my side. Because girl can scrap. She got shoved into that crowd. She almost went head over heels. She just stood right back up, fixed her ball cap, went right back in. I mean, she's a fighter. Story number 2, the new series on Disney called Baymax, which is based on a character from the Big Hero series, is causing some controversy. A few days ago, Christopher F. Rufo, who I've never heard of until this point, says that he found leaked footage. I suspect it wasn't leaked, and I suspect he wasn't the one who found it, but anyway. So he's got his knickers in a twist because Baymax is a character who is supposed to help people with health problems. And one scene in one of the episodes, he goes into a drugstore to purchase tampons and doesn't know what to purchase. And there's a woman there. She's shopping as well. He asks her for advice. And then other people start chiming in with advice. One of the characters that chimes in with advice is a man who says he uses this kind of particular product. If you pull back and look at it, he is wearing a t-shirt in the trans flag colors. So we are meant to read this, of course, as him being a man with menstrual periods. I'm personally quite thrilled that Disney has done this. They're a corporation that is very problematic on a lot of things, but sometimes they hit one out of the park, and this is one of them. It's very subtle. It's not a very special episode about trans men or anything like that. It's just a character who happens to be there shopping, who helps out another character. And that's the kind of representation we want to see, natural interaction type representation. The other interesting thing about this story is the tweet itself. And that last line there is particularly important. Rufo says that Disney is re-engineering the discourse for kids and sexuality. And that's very telling. That Disney's gone too woke and he's doing all the pearl clutching and dog whistling and all of those things that people on the far right do when anybody supports people on the left or marginalized persons in their artwork. This could come down to a matter of not using the same terminology the same way. He may be confusing biological sex assigned at birth with sexuality, it is connected in the sense that reproduction is caused by having sexual activity with somebody who's got the opposite fun bits. But that's not really what sexuality means. This may be a Freudian slip, but I think what has happened here is after decades and decades of pop culture, of television, of film, everything we consume as pop culture consumers, telling him that really women are only good for sex and reproduction, that he's kind of conflated the two things into one in his mind. And I did have a quick read through the comments on this tweet. I know, don't read the comments, but you know that I do on tweets like this because it's where some of the most interesting discourse happens. And it seems to me that that is kind of a theme that was bubbling up under the surface from a lot of the people commenting on this. So that's something that a pop culture property like Baymax is directly working to oppose. And I know they're going to get accused of shoving it in people's faces when literally that's not what they're doing. They're actually making it very subtle. By the way, there is also a man at the very end of that bit who pipes up and says that I buy these ones for my daughter or something like that. That's also wonderful. And we definitely need more of that representation. We need for people to understand that having a menstrual cycle is just part of the functioning of the human body. And I love seeing that they had a character who's a dad piping up about buying products for his kid. Love that. That dad is totally a hero in this story too. By the way, if you're in a drugstore and they still say feminine hygiene over those things, maybe have a chat with the manager and say, you know what? I just want to change that word. Tell your stores, like, just take the word feminine off that sign and call it menstrual hygiene. It makes more sense. And finally, I'm going to try not to gloat too much, but Jordan Peterson has been suspended from Twitter. I'm very proud to say that it's all down to a fellow blue-noser, Mr. Elliot Page. And yes, I am a leftist on YouTube talking about Jordan Peterson. It's a contractual obligation. I had to do it at some point. Now, this is just a suspension. He's not permanently banned. And frankly, I'm sure he is secretly quite thrilled because Jordan Peterson likes to have controversy. He likes to go, look at these people stifling my free speech. That's what's brought him to fame in the first place back in the mid-2010s when he started complaining about trans people being protected in Canadian law. So it is quite poetic, really, that his complaints about a trans man being a trans man is what got him the suspension. And to be clear, I don't know Elliot Page personally, but he did grow up maybe about a 10-minute or so drive straight out that way from where I'm sitting right now. So he is the hometown kiddo, and we will be a little bit defensive. I don't know if folks outside of Canada know what one of Nova Scotia's biggest industries is, but it is lobster fishing. Maybe a professor who grew up in landlocked Alberta, maybe should take note what we do to lobsters out here. Might serve Peterson, the lobster boy himself, to be reminded that you don't mess with Nova Scotians. We do nasty, inhumane things to lobsters out here. And I'm just going to wrap up with a couple of quick things. It is Canada Day today. This is the day we officially became a country and all of that kind of thing. It's also a day that is very fraught in all kinds of colonialism. So I suggest if you can, if you're here in Canada, please go out, support your Indigenous business owners, crafters, creators, anybody, YouTubers, whatever. Go support them and their work, because Canada Day is not a celebration for anybody in the Indigenous community and those of us who support them. So yeah, go show them some love on all the social platforms. And of course, I will finish off with a happy Pride. And for most countries and most cities, Pride's just wrapping up today or yesterday, but we are just getting it started here in Halifax. We have Pride here in July in Halifax because June is like 75% rain. So we just moved it to a nicer month. So happy Pride finishing or happy Pride starting, wherever you are geographically on that one. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Make sure you click down below on some links. And of course, there's the thumbs up button and the share and subscribe buttons. Do all of those things. It really helps my channel grow. And as always, lift heavy, fight the patriarchy, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.